Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm here with Manny DeBrito. Thanks again for being here. And so we were talking in part one about his background, him growing up in New Bedford, how he got started with coaching, his current job, and how he really got to this point. And now for part two, we'll continue this conversation. So one thing I did want to ask you was, you left Polaroid because there was no chance of advancing, okay? And so did you end up taking, and then you took that, account job because you were just really good at numbers and you enjoyed it. But then when you took this job, one, I guess you're a department head, but there's no room for advancing, but that was kind of okay with you because you were as high up as it could go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of the decision, and again, it was just, that was the step up for me.
Sure.
The fact that, the city felt confident in me enough where they placed me in that role. You know what I mean? That's a very visible role.
Very important.
Very important. And so, I'm always appreciative of that, and a lot of times when you're in the corporate world, there's no pathway to advancing, and that's why mentorship is huge, especially in corporations, you know what I mean, where it's like, okay, you need someone to take you under their wing, and especially someone that looks like you, been through some similar things, you know what I mean? You're gonna gravitate towards those people. And, so that sometimes becomes difficult in finance, let's say, because you don't have that, that's not readily available. So, I thought it was an opportunity for me to advance and grow and do something different, and again, give back to the city that I love, so that kind of drew me in.
So you say you looked up to your father and you looked up to your grandfather, but in this finance world and really just in the professional world, did you have someone you were able to look up to, or a mentor, or you were kind of just navigating it on your own?
A lot of it was on my own. Like when I worked at Polaroid, there was a couple of people, I was a temp employee, there was a couple of people that looked out for me and helped me advance there and kind of put me on the map there. So I was able to get hired as a full-time employee. And, but the company itself, I don't think had me on their radar. I was just going to school full-time, working full-time. I was an employee, that was it. So there was a couple of people that were, Cape Verdeans, and just, hey, this kid needs a shot, he deserves a shot. And I was able to prove myself, you know what I mean? But without that opportunity, who knows? Finance, just really no, and that was kind of difficult because I was always searching for it and reaching out for it, and I wanted it so bad. And it just, it wasn't something that was readily available, which is sad, I don't think people realize how difficult it can be. You always hear, oh, just the hottest worker is going to get it. And, oh, if you would have worked hard enough. And it's like, well, there has to be a way to advance. If you're blocked, how do you? So.
So you're saying that like the finance world is kind of like gate-kept kind of thing?
I mean, I guess it depends on the company too.
Sure.
But, there's, same thing. You see similar people taking similar roles. It's just finance is one of those roles where, there aren't many minorities, it just really isn't.
Sure.
So it just kind of is just one of those things. And, I've been here since 2017, so I'm hoping that, there have been gains in that way. And, but, to say that, definitely has been, I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
But, we need people trying to, to be the trailblazers and to want to be those mentors.
Yeah.
And when you reach a certain level, always reach back to help the next person, because it is important. There's nothing we can do in this world alone, right? We need other people.
Sure.
So we need community, we need team, and so we need people to kind of look out for us too.
Yeah.
And then what we do with that is on us, but that definitely helps out.
And so in your role now as chairperson for the Election Commission, was someone in that position who was resigning who was able to show you the ropes, or was this empty when you got it?
So the woman prior to me, Maria Tamazia, who was an amazing woman, she's, definitely just a great person, and she had been there 20-something years. She stayed on for a couple of months to kind of walk me through, but again, in this job, there's no pathway. It's like people come from all kind of different walks of life, and they end up becoming, a town clerk or commissioner, and every election is different. Every city and town is different. So you're not going to get it until you go through it.
Sure.
So luckily, my staff have been there, one of them over 40 years.
Wow.
Amazing. Another over 30 years. So the institutional knowledge
Sure.
that they had, and I leaned on that a lot. We have great relationship, and again, it's just like, we could talk to each other, and we work together very, very well. I was blessed to have that.
Yeah. That is a blessing. Yeah, absolutely. We had some of that info because, like you said, you're going to have to learn a lot of it on the job.
Yes.
Especially because it's not like you've either worked in the city or worked like in elections before. This is just brand new kind of thing.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new being a manager. Brand new running a department. And then brand new running elections. And then the time I started, just think, we've had some of the most highly scrutinized elections in our history as a country.
Sure. Sure.
And, social media is huge, so it's a much different job even now compared to when I started in 2017. Things have changed a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And so your parents really impressed the importance of education. Did that go hand in hand with voting or not so much?
My parents are probably the biggest, American supporting, loving, I'm gonna go vote. My mom
Really?
will wear her, U.S. flag pin and go voting. I call her Jackie Kennedy.
Sure, really?
Because they love
Okay.
it. And I remember before I became commissioner, this is years ago, I went into my polling site and I looked, and they had the old booths, and they had curtains, and I saw 6 little legs. I'm like, this doesn't look right. And the curtain opens. It's my dad, my grandmother, and my mom. My grandmother and my mom had difficulty with English and stuff like that.
Sure.
So my dad was helping them.
Sure.
But that always stuck to me, how important it was for them to go and vote.
Yeah.
So they're super proud that they were able to come here and become Americans and provide a life for their kids. A better, path, let's say, for your children. So that was something that definitely was impressed on us.
Okay.
Not necessarily going to vote, but they were leading by example and how
Sure.
important it was to them.
Sure. And so I know several people my age, younger, older people who don't go vote, okay? What would you say to them as far as for why it is important to vote?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of work with kids, and I go in and I speak to colleges and high schools. And a lot of it is about the importance of voting. And, you'll hear, people don't trust the government or my vote doesn't matter. But what I usually say is, and it's funny because I think back to my parents and my grandmother, you plus 2, bring 2 people with you to go vote. Now that creates a ripple. Now there's 3 votes. It's not just 1.
Yeah.
And, local election, let's say, there's been times where it's come down to a handful of votes.
Interesting.
So your vote does count. And again, it's, I guess you're making your vote count by not showing up too. You're unimpressed that you're not going to show. But there's things that are important to us as a community, and voting is a way to grab people's attention. Right? So if we need to have people in a position that's going to look out for our best interests, you know what I mean? We have to make sure that, these people are held accountable. You can only hold them accountable through your vote.
Sure.
Going on Facebook and, being upset with someone doesn't really affect that change. It's about voting.
Yeah.
Because, promises are made. Now you got to keep those promises, because I'm going out to vote for you. If you don't, I'm going to vote for somebody else. So I think it's really important that New Bedford especially gets our numbers up. And any gateway city in the state, Worcester, Fall River, Brockton, a lot of, our turnout numbers are really low. There's a lot of disenfranchised populations. And I think that affects that, what types of money and grants we're getting, funding from the state. And again, making them realize hey, we got to be accountable to those folks. And so I think that's important that we realize that and, make sure that, we're taking that action. That's the least we could do.
Sure.
People like yourself coming out and just being so active and all that. Great. I love that. You know what I mean? But, you know, people don't have the time and energy to do that. That might not be their thing.
Yeah.
You can at least go out and vote.
Sure.
You know, that's your, you know, contribution
Sure.
to that, you know, so.
And so you mentioned gateway city. I hear that term like around. What does that mean?
It's just like a smaller size city. You're talking about like 100,000 people or so, very diverse populations, and, you know, like I said, pockets of very disenfranchised folks. So that's what they consider like a gateway city.
Okay.
And so we're all, you know, around. We're not a huge city like Boston, you know what I mean? We're just, you know, we're under that, Springfield. So, you know, that's what they consider gateway cities, those communities.
Sure. And so what is the age group that you would say votes the most in New Bedford, and what age group would you try and emphasize like probably votes the least and like should get involved?
So adults and seniors vote. They've been doing it forever.
Sure.
And again, like, so they're voting for their best interests, right? Because that's what you're going to go vote for. So I think it's important. My focus really is on kids that are voting age or about to be.
Sure.
The fact that they have an opportunity, because turnout numbers are so low, to affect change through their vote much sooner than older folks, right? Like if they show up to vote and you have all these like-minded individuals that vote and vote for their best interests, right? They have an opportunity to really make a change and really swing things around,
Sure.
to be honest. I think, you know, people my age, 50 and 30, like, we're all so fed up with everything.
Yeah.
So we kind of like, you know, there's a lot of people that just don't care and just are like, you know what, I just want to deal with it anymore, kind of, you know what I mean? So we've lost those folks. So a lot of times when I speak to youth too, I'm like, go home and talk to your parents about why it's important to vote.
Yeah.
Have this discussion as a family. I'm never going to tell someone who to vote for.
Sure.
My opinion and life experience leads me to vote a certain way. Someone else completely different. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Right? But go home and talk to your parents, mom, dad, even the elementary school kids. I'm like, do you guys like going to the zoo? You like going to the zoo? Yeah. Go home and tell your parents that. So it's important for them to vote to make sure there are people in there that will take care of those institutions for us in the city. So I try to frame it that way. And again, going in and having those conversations as a family is so important.
Sure.
And again, like as a coach, learning from kids that I've coached, as a parent, you learn from your kids too, right? And I think that's important. Kids have a lot of power in the household nowadays where maybe we wouldn't have growing up.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's kind of, you know, my focus has been on youth and families and trying to get them just sparking those conversations. You know, trying to find creative ways so the kids are interested. 8, 10 years down the line, yeah, maybe hopefully all of those kids that I've talked to are gonna vote. But hopefully in the meantime, it's impacting their parents and there's more people that are like, you know what, we talked about this, we discussed it, maybe I should go vote. You know what I mean? And that's my hope, it really is.
So over the last 8 years, you've been chairperson. Have you seen more turnout or less turnout? And there's obviously like other factors. But,
Yeah, there's tons.
You know.
I mean, there's, right now, I think there's just a lot of voter apathy.
Yeah.
Depending on the election. So like what drives turnout is who's on the ballot. So if the mayor's on the ballot and it's a contested race, people are gonna show up, right? State elections, people will show up. Obviously presidential. Local elections, you know, sometimes, you know, you'll get a much less of a turnout. And, you know, the mayor kind of coined it to me the best way. And I thought this was a great example. He was like, it's almost like a baseball game, right? Like people go to the game to first watch the game, right? So which is the election, watch the players, candidates, and, you know, watch that. If they're paying attention to the umpire, which is you, the election commissioner, you know what I mean? Like, then there's a problem.
Sure.
Because they're not there to see you.
Yeah.
So you don't drive turnout. I don't drive turnout. I'm trying to educate folks because I want more people to vote because I'm a New Bedford citizen. I live here. My kids go to school here.
Yeah.
I own homes here. I'm not going anywhere. And my wife, same thing, lifelong resident. And my parents, you know, are here. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, people are just so caught up and drawn by those factors. So, you know, and again, that's something else I speak to the kids on. Like, go away, go do great things, go to college, go to whatever, and then come back and give back to the community. Like, you run for office. Because we need New Bedford has so many talented people these kids are amazing. Like, I'm amazed every year when I go in and I work with these kids and I talk to these kids about how resilient and creative they are. And they really are. So I'm like, man, come back. Like, it's just a benefit to the city.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to leave here to make an impact and make a life for yourself, you know? So, you know, that's part of, you know, why I do what I do.
And so, again, over the years, have you been getting more excited about your job, or is it becoming more frustrating because there's so many outside factors?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, you know, I'm human, so it gets
No, of course.
frustrating at
No,
times.
of course.
I never thought more people would dislike me that don't know me, just off the strength of what my job is.
Interesting.
And you hear all kind of negative stuff, and it's part of the job, right? And, you know, it's taken me a long time to be like, you got to separate yourself, because, like, the people that are here and that are paying attention and know you know what you're doing.
Of course.
Right? But, like, you know, like I said, when I go out and people tell me how great my parents are, I want my kids to be able to hear the same thing. And again, that my name means a lot to me, my character, my integrity means a lot. So that part can be frustrating. And then, like, you know, just the fact that people could say anything and people believe it. Without that conversation, like, if you have a question, call me. Like, you came into my office, how long do we sit and talk?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're open to talk.
Like, I'm not hiding. My office is the same. The door's open. Yeah, we could discuss anything. Like, if you don't, you know, understand the process or trust the process, I could show you. I'm not, you know, again, hiding anything. And I think building that just kind of comfort and, like, you know, that trust between yourself. And again, there's going to be people that question whatever, and they're just not going to trust anybody. But hopefully I've chipped away at some of that, and, like, people know I'm doing the best I can. My staff is amazing, like I said. So, like, even beyond me, like, they've been part of how many elections and know what they're doing. You know, so that's kind of the thing that, you know, sometimes gets frustrating, you know what I mean? And again, and then, you know, then the turnouts are low. You know, and I just know how important it is for the city.
Very.
That, you know, people are active and people are voting. So, you know, I only want the best for the city.
And so, kind of going back to that baseball analogy, the reason why I get involved like I do is because I don't see people my age or even, like, a little bit older taking up these roles. Like, a lot of these people have been in their roles for a while, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with, and not you, I mean, there's people who've been in the roles for 10, 20 years. Like, and so, they just might like the role, they might like the power, but there's a lack of people in my generation getting ready to carry the torch. And so, going back to that baseball analogy, we really need to champion people in our communities. Why do you think there's not as many young people getting involved in politics?
And again, I think, you know, it's apathy. Everything you hear is negative. And they're looking at adults, grown-ups, acting very immature. You know, arguing with each other, fighting and pointing fingers, and just, why would you want a part of that? You know what I mean? Like, why would you sign up for that? It's kind of like, you know, so they're on the periphery, but they're hearing all of this. And they're just like, why would I want to sign up for that? You know?
I understand why you think your vote wouldn't matter, but then wouldn't you want to then do the job so then you can do it better?
Yes, and see, you're just a different kind of animal, man, beast. But again, like, sometimes it's easier to complain than actually be the person to fix it. And again, it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure, because you are going to find people that are going to hate on you. And people are going to come and be like, oh, here comes this guy now, you know. But, like, the people that are here and just paying attention and watching and knowing what you're doing, like, I applaud that. But people, like, when you don't, like, feel that reaction and that love, like, sometimes it's hard, and you kind of don't want to sign up for it. So I don't blame a lot of people for not wanting to.
It's going to be a hard job, sure, but not everyone's going to like you. Like, what? I mean, and that's a part of life.
That is a part of life. That is, and again, like, sometimes it takes a long time to learn how to get beyond that, and it's not even, you know, like, based off you, but it's like, you know, your kids hearing it, your family hearing it, your wife. So it's like, you know, I'm very secure in, like, who I am as a person. You know, this and that. And again, I don't have to, you know, pound my chest about how, you know, I don't care about that stuff. I just like getting stuff done. You like getting stuff done. And I focus on that. And again, the love I get from these kids and from these families.
That's what powers
like,
you, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like it's just such a great, like pure like joy when you see like, and again, like, so I'll go into a place and people confuse me with my brother Mark a lot.
Okay.
But people are like, oh, your brother was the head coach. Man, that guy saved my life. He's like a dad to me. That makes me proud to hear that about my brother.
Absolutely.
And he tells me like, oh, this person thought I was you and they came up because we look alike. And I'm even on 4 years older.
Sure.
Good for me, bad for him, I guess. But
Sure.
he takes pride in that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
people compliment my youngest brother. You know what I mean? Like, we take pride in that. You know, so it's like, you know, I love, and I think one of the things that I've been trying to do a lot more of is tell people I appreciate them. You know what I mean? Because those voices are silent. You know, you don't always get that. And not that you're doing it for that.
Yeah.
But it's a boost.
It can definitely mean something.
It's like, you're like, man, I'm breaking through and this person just looked to me and I've created a change in this one person's life. Because the negative is loud. And that comes hard.
Yeah.
They're coming for you hard. And, you know, so sometimes you feel defeated. So it's like, I'm like, you know what? Like I had a meeting and I'm looking to form a group of people that we just celebrate each other. Guys that are out there just doing good stuff. And I might not show up at your event because I'm busy or I'm sick or I have whatever going on. I have a game or whatever. But I support you and I salute you. Like, and I appreciate you. You know what I mean? And you, and there's plenty others in the community that, you know, I watch from afar and I'm just like, man, like this person is just a beast. They're out there doing their thing. And I know they have kids. I know they're married. I know they have jobs. And I appreciate that. And I think we need to do a better job with that part of it too. Because again, like there's going to be days where that burden is very heavy. And that kind word might just lift someone through and get them through that. Like that's, you know, like that's what I do it for. Like that's why I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I said, a little kid making a hoop and the smile and all of that. Like that drives me to be like, all right, like I've just made this kid love the game, right? Like just and spark that. Now what he does with that and continues to grow and, you know, advance and stuff like that, that's great. But just being that first person to like really try to build the love. You know, that's great. That's great to and again, just that appreciation. You know what I mean? Just so you know.
Is encouragement. You know, it's not just like kind words, but it's fuel for them to know like, all right, I'm doing something good. Not just that I'm being appreciated, but like I should keep going.
Yes, I want to because I want to impact more. Or like when I hear like guys that I coach, now they're coaching. Like that's, I mean, for me, I'm super happy for them because I'm like, wow, like you just, you know, put yourself in a realm where you're gonna make such an impact. And I don't even think you realize it yet. And it's like, wow, like the next generation. I love it. Like, you know, because again, we need more of it. We need more great people, more role models.
More mentorship. That's why that was a word on my mind. Like, yes, we need more role models. That's like what's driving me right now is just be a positive role model for people older, my age, younger, you know, but we need more positivity because there's negativity is loud and there's so much of it. And positivity can exist if we take the initiative and are loud about it also.
You know? And I think you just said a key thing. It's like, you know, it's not just young people that you're a role model to.
Not at all.
Like I said, man, I'm watching you do stuff and I'm a lot older than you and I'm, you know, inspired by that. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, for me, it's like being an election commissioner. There's a lot of Cape Verdeans that look to me for stuff and they are inspired and like, you know, are happy that I'm there. I mean, I'm the Cape Verdean go-to for everything in the city hall. Water bills high, oh, we'll call Manny. You know, my parents are like, oh, call Manny, he'll help you out.
No pressure or anything.
No, but I love that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, able to help and knowing that these older folks look at me, oh, yeah, here's the kid I knew you since you were here and here, look at where you are now. Like, you know, that's also great to hear and great to see, you know, because, you know, we are being helpful and giving back and just, you know, and people feel that and it's awesome.
Yeah, and you are such a leader in the Cape Verdean community, in the basketball community, in the city, and we need more good people to be leaders. You know, like it's gonna be hard, you know,
it's
like
hard.
But don't expect it to be easy, you know, but toughen yourself up, but then know that if we need good people to do these jobs. So if we don't, other people with different motivations are going to do it, and then we're going to be worse off for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And again, like, yeah, it is hard. And, you know, but anything like that that's worth it in life is hard.
Exactly.
You know, like I said, getting your education, being married, being a community person, coaching, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It is really hard work. And again, you just stepping up to the plate, stepping up to the challenge, go back to the baseball thing.
Yep.
But like, yeah, it's gonna be hard, but like it gets easier, and like, you know, and you start being able to maneuver and kind of go through it much easier.
And it's worth it. You know,
So
like the easy things in life, like you can go get McDonald's, you know what I'm saying, but doing things of quality, you know, and coming up with quality ideas and making these memories, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I wish people could realize that more.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. So my son Theo, who's 11, and he's just a great kid. He's everybody's favorite. Yeah, everyone's best friend, everyone's favorite teammate. Like, he's always rooting everybody on. And we got a call from his school that his buddy was having a hard time in one of his classes, and Theo's a great student. And he wrote a note to the teacher saying that he wants to take time out of his, you know, time to help his friend out.
Wow.
And so the school called us to let us know, like, man, you got this amazing. And so he's like paying attention, and like that just warmed my heart.
No, that's amazing.
And my wife is one of the most caring, giving people. So he gets it from her, to be honest. And just that sense of pride, like,
no, that's crazy.
Like, man, like a kid that's 11 doesn't do that.
Yeah,
and like parents are like, man, we love when your kid comes over. He's no problem at all. He's so polite, this and that. That's a good feeling as a parent. You know what I mean? Or, you know, a parent like, oh yeah, my kid loves the game because you coached them and you made them see whatever. You know, like that makes it so worth it. It really does. You know, when I coached. There was a 7th and 8th grade team. We had these great, talented kids on the team. And this one boy kind of got lost in the shuffle, and mom called late. Like, he only wants to play for you guys. He's played, you know, when he was young, whatever. And it was just like an extra person. And it makes it hard. I said, you know what? He's going to play for us, right? But she's like, he ain't playing for nobody else. So we took him on, and then he asked me to be his confirmation sponsor. And his mom said, he's been wanting to ask you since the day he met you. Wow. And I'm just like, so he still calls me Godfather to this day. He's in his 20s.
Yeah.
And it's just like, again, they're paying attention, and they kind of, you know, see that. And it was just, that's moments like that are just touching. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what we do it for. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And again, like people just don't forget. Kids don't forget that stuff. And they remember these little snippets, and it's just such a great memory for them. And like, to be able to be part of that memory, is awesome. You know what I mean? It's just a great feeling.
So Manny, that's our interview.
You're getting to be a pro, man. I like this.
Thanks so much. This has been like a pleasure. I feel like we could just keep talking. I mean, there's like, at some point I would love to follow up, because there's so much that you have in store. You're talking a little bit off camera about how you are so creative, not visually, but we've talked about how you have these ideas. And I would love to shine more of a light on all that you do. There's so much that you do for the city, and you're just a great person, a great leader, and a great role model. So thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you.
So this has been Wake Up New Bedford with Manny DeBrito. Thank you everyone for watching, and catch us in the next episode. Peace.
I'm running